Well, hello, good evening, and everyone. On behalf of the VML, welcome to our wonderful match here. Well, series of matches, really. I'm Skybilz. I'm going to be the host tonight. First time ever doing play-by-play. Super excited here, and I am joined by the one and only Mishamigo. And also, we have a wonderful special guest here tonight. We have HeadologyMTG here joining us tonight. A few announcements here on behalf of the VML. So, welcome to the VML. We are sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and GLHF. We are a 10-week-long MTGA league which showcases the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. We have over 100 players total, and this is our biggest ever season. Players have been divided into 16 divisions and will play in a round robin for 7 weeks before cutting to a playoff of the top 32. This season, it's a clean cut. Only the top 2 of each division will make it. This is, however, Misha, help me out here. What week are we on here? I'm losing track of time. What is time here?
This is week 4.
We've
just passed the halfway mark of our season.
Oh my goodness. So
this is regular season.
And yeah, this is week 4 of season 9, which again, been involved with that since season 3 here. So if you are interested in joining us, please follow us at VMLMTG on Twitter. We also have VML swag, and please let us know why VML doesn't have Phyrexian merchandising yet. Okay, I'm going to take that into my own hands here on behalf of Ella Schnorn. So poke us at that and let us know that we should have that. For the 2022-2023 competitive season, you can fight your way to the local regional championships and the Pro Tour through playing the VML. So again, the stakes are pretty big here. There will be 3 seasons of the VML during this competitive year, which will all lead to our brand new capstone event, the VML Championships. The top 8 players from each season will qualify to the VML Championships, which will be a 24-player invite-only event. The top 2 players of the VML Championships receive an invitation to the following Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. So again, we are currently in spring 2023, that's VML Season 9, and don't worry, if you'd like to join us, summer 2023, we will be having VML Season 10, so please do join us. And summer and fall of this year, the VML Championships will be taking place, and a partridge in a pear tree. How are you all doing? It's wonderful to have you all here.
I'm doing great.
Well. How are you?
Good. Just big chillin' here, really enjoying so far. My first week here, I had to make sure I read VML on there instead of GDQ hotfix because normally I'd just start going into my mode there, so I'm glad I was able to take a look at that. But I want to take this time to focus on our special guest here. So, Headology, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, where folks can find you, and what do you like the most about Magic?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. Those are my main things. I'm most frequently on Twitch. Although you can find me ranting about various things on Twitter. And I'm working on getting the YouTube channel up and running with draft videos and tournament videos and bronze to mythic things and box openings and so on and so forth. But mainly Twitch. You can find me ranting about things there. I play mostly limited, specialize in that, but I was convinced to try out standard for VML this year and this season. So I'm working through that. I've had some amazing matches with amazing players. And in fact, that is my favorite thing about the game is meeting new people, playing with people. People are amazing in this game, and the community is just not so awesome. I can't even express it. It's just, yes. This whole gathering thing, it's what makes the game for me. So that and Flood. That's what I do most. But yeah, I don't think there's many better nights spent gaming than playing EDH with friends and catching up. So that's one of my favorite things too.
Well, I have to say EDH real quick because I have to ask the question on everyone's minds. Who is your favorite commander?
I actually have multiple favorite commanders. I have so many commander decks. I have many favorite commanders. If you poke me really hard, I probably will choose either just the things that are most fun for me are usually Rune, which is just a flicker deck, or Maelstrom Wanderer, which is a crazy rando deck where I cascade into things. Neither of them are terribly competitive. I just like to do stuff. and watch my opponents do crazy stuff is cool too. So that's my those are my two favorites usually. I have so many, but I love playing those most. And so those are the ones that I'll reach for first if I'm given the chance. But again, like there's no extra turns, there's no land destruction, there's no things like that. So recurring counter spells, there's a little bit in Rune with, I think I put a Mystic Snake in there, but that was it. So but yeah, those are my faves.
That is awesome. So, Misha, if you would like to say hey to everyone, let us know where to find you. And also, who is your favorite commander? I want to hear about this.
Ooh, okay. Well, hello everybody. I am Magic Mishamigo. You can find me over on Instagram and Twitch under that name. I occasionally stream on, or sorry, not Twitch. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Magic Mishamigo. You can find me on Twitch at just Mishamigo, where I occasionally stream sometimes. When I do play, I usually do limited or I'll play commander. My favorite commanders, I also have two favorites, are Zangief or Marika, since that's the universes beyond now, or Arabo, because swole cats. Who doesn't love swole cats?
Kitties. I have dual wielding kitties. I put swords in that.
I've got one sword in there. I got the Hearth and Home. It's on brand for Selesnya cats.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, y'all, for letting us know about your socials, what keeps you into Magic, your favorite commanders. We'll get into a little bit more of that later. Did you know this season that we do have live matches? And I'm so sorry to both players for keeping y'all waiting. By the way, real quick note, I like Sliver Overlord. All right, now let's go to those two matches over here. We don't need to have a discussion about that. We have Madeline B versus Nora Martin here. Oh, yes, metagame breakdown, of course. Thank you so much. By the way, shout outs to Phoebe. Thank you, Phoebe, for all of your hard work behind the scenes here. So here is our metagame breakdown here. And the keyword this week, and yes, we do have keywords that don't exist in Magic here. Mid-range. Mid-range is what we're looking at in the current meta right now. Would you like some mid-range with more mid-range? Grixis mid-range, Mono White mid-range, Mardu mid-range, Jenn mid-range, Azuri Soldiers. Misha, what do you think about this breakdown?
Honestly, I was a little surprised to see how big of the block that with Grixis is back to. Last week, I think it was a little slimmer. So Grixis, people going back to their tried and true trusty Grixis decks. Then we've got some Mono White. That's the one I expected to see a little bit more in because it's gotten some pretty good staples from one. And then Mardu and Jund, those are the ones that kind of surprised me. I saw a few Jund decks last time, but Mardu, I'm excited. I like Mardu. I like Jund. And then Azorius Soldiers is a pet favorite of mine. I love aggro, but seeing blue-white aggro, that's a different one. I like flyers though. So I'm excited to see some of these decks get played tonight. I already know which decks we'll be seeing, but it's exciting to see them come up and see how they check out.
And headology of the fringe decks that we have. And there's a lot of creativity here, as noted. 25 fringe decks. Which one of those really stands out to you?
The fringe decks?
Yeah.
And those would be including the mono blue tempo, mono red aggro, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I tried out the reanimators. It was a Traxxas reanimator. The Rakdos reanimator is, in my opinion, stronger than the Mardu reanimator that I tried. It has a lot of resilience to a lot of things that I didn't think it had resilience to, but it still needs to get the combo. And I found out that that one's a little bit glass cannon-ish. So I think a lot of the fringe decks, I think they lose a lot to these main decks because what I found for mono white mid-range, for example, and I imagine this is also true of Grixis and a little bit of Mardu, but there's just such a wide variety of things that the mono white deck can tackle. It has access to graveyard hate in the form of Hearse and so on and so forth, but it also has access to enchantment and artifact destruction in the form of a body, the Lauren. It has wraths and really cheap removal in form of exiles in terms of ossification, and the 1 mana white spell that exiles based on your planes. It only has to
Lay down
run
arms.
one color. It doesn't get screwed. It doesn't get like color screwed. It has these massive board wipes later on. It has card draw in the form of the Bank Buster and the dog or the 2/1 flyer. It's there's a lot of different builds of it, but it just seems to me to be so versatile that it's hard to have these fringe decks if they're in any way aggressive. Like I'm surprised Azorius Soldiers is doing as well as it is, because there's so much, board wipe, and while Soldiers rebuilds pretty well, not against this. So I'm just impressed with what these mid-range decks can handle, and I think that the fringe decks have a harder time dealing with that than possibly they would like. Mono Blue Tempo doesn't seem to me quite so much of a fringe deck, but there's just so much cheap removal that the counters magic can't deal with it, and it's just painful. So that's my take so far. I'm not all that familiar with all the decks in this format, but I do think that the mid range, it's just a mid range slugfest overall, and I hope that somebody breaks this wide open. But I don't have a lot of faith that someone's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the keyword you said is versatility. The
Yeah.
Grixis and mono white, there's just so much versatility that both of them easily overcome a lot of these fringe decks.
Yeah.
All right, absolutely. But we are going to be seeing one of these fringe decks coming up here. So again, we have Madeline B versus Nora Martin. Again, thank you all so much for waiting. Thank you for playing live with us tonight. So we here have Madeline B to start out with. Division 13 2-1 record here. And some cards to watch, Fable, the Mirror Breaker, Corpse of Razor, Invoke Despair. We've seen this time and time again here. And let's see, I want to play a good meta deck and felt like Grixis had a good matchup against most other decks in the format. So that might explain why Grixis is the most selected deck this week. Again, I'm kind of responsible for the Grixis storm as well, too. But what do y'all think about this current list? Anything stand out to you in this Grixis mid-range build?
Honestly, this one's pretty cookie cutter. I know some of them have taken these Shouldreds out. The Shellys are in this one, which, I mean, I love to see her. We are running 3 main deck make disappears, so a lot of counter spells with more in the sideboard. So I think this is a pretty standard Grixis deck from what I've seen in the past.
Yeah, it looks about what I remember. Let me see. There's some. I like the sideboard. I think it's pretty well crafted here against the meta. That's pretty neat. Because there's going to be some decks where you just don't want this cut down. Sweet. Okay. Yeah. No, I like this deck. This is pretty cool.
I mean, this is standard fare, very much so. I'm glad you mentioned something about the Shieldreds there, Misha. And again, the side deck's always worth looking at, Ariana. So very, very much so. Again, maybe out of the side, we see some walkers too, some walker trends happening there. All right, let's go on over to her opponent. And we have Nora Martin here. So Division 13, also 2-1. So someone here is going to walk out towards the top of the division here as soon as this is done. So Esper Legends here, though, being the name of the game here, we have Thalia, Rafine, Urtai Resurrected. And again, the keyword here is versatility. While Esper Legends might be a mid-range deck, it also kind of can go into either or. I've seen this deck be aggressive. I've seen this deck go a little bit more on the control side. You never know what you're going to get out of Esper Legends. What do y'all think of this one?
Honestly, I'm excited to see this one come out. We see some of the staples. You see your Shellys, you see the Rafine, which is I think the main card in this deck that you're trying to be able to go through your cards, pick what you need, ditch what you don't need. So I think Rafine, I think Urtai, that's another key card. We've been talking about versatility. Urtai is very versatile. If you can, flash Urtai in, you can counter spells. Like there's a lot. You can counter spells, activated abilities, and triggered abilities. And you let them have a card, but you can also destroy creatures. Like that's a really versatile card, and it's a creature. So if nothing else, like you get to have a creature on board too. So
I've played against this deck. I think it's very, very strong. I think it really, really relies on having Thalia, especially in this matchup. I think it really, really relies on having Thalia and Rafine early. because that taxes the mana of Grixis, which is really, really important. And I mean, to get rid of Rafine, Grixis needs a few extra turns because of the Ward 2. And the Thalia again makes the Grixis spells a lot harder to sort of spiral, which it does, off of the Corpse Appraisers, etc. The Corpse Appraisers won't be slowed down, but everything else will be. So I very much like that, and I like that. I mean, the Brotherhood's End that are going to be a real problem though for this deck. Overall, unless Rafine gets out early and pumps up something quickly. So the main thing that I think that the Esper deck does not want to see is an early Brotherhood's End.
I'm happy that you mentioned that as well, because that was one of those cards that isn't necessarily inside every Grixis deck, let alone game one against.
Yeah, there were multiple copies. I was surprised there were like 4 copies, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not in the main deck. Hey, man, let me double check here as we're getting situated here. So we have
one sideboard, I believe.
Yeah, one main, one side. Yeah,
one main, one side. That's okay. So that is what I saw on this list, but on the picture, it looked like there were more.
Maybe it was right next to a bunch of Fables.
Yeah,
that might have been it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, that Brotherhood's End. If that just crushes the Esper deck unless they got out really fast on the play with maybe the Plaza of Heroes. That's a really important land for them to have early, because it really allows them to play all of the triple color cards that they have quite quickly, including the Rafines being the major one there. So and if we can protect with the Skrelv, that would be great against the single pieces of removal. But the Brotherhood's End is what I'm hoping to have a better game than just, a couple creatures out and then Brotherhood's End and then it's over.
All right. Well, on the comm side here, we are just ready to get underway. We are waiting on our players. But while we are waiting for this to begin, I want to see how this matchup utilizes the Planeswalkers. So Planeswalkers are in a pretty awkward spot here in terms of main side. All right, we are underway.
All right.
Let us go here. We are looking at this from Madeline's perspective here. Nora will be on top. We still have our lovely hand cam here to look at, so we should be able to see what's happening on both sides of the board here. And this looks like a snap keep here from Madeline. Nora is keeping us kind of a little suspenseful here with going on here. But yeah, if I'm looking at Madeline's hand, this is looking pretty solid. We got a mulligan, couple of mulligans here from Nora, or at least one mulligan so far. Okay, 2 mulligans.
Yeah, I think for Madeline, that's really nice. Like, you put your lounge out on 1 because you're not going to play anything on 1. The springs, it'll ping you, but you can get your Bloodhive Harvesters out on 2. So,
and that'll help you find a third land for the first Fable, or Corpse Appraiser, should you wish.
All right, here we are underway. Pair of lands here to start out with. Now, you think to yourself, we have creature or bank buster. So this is going to be a pretty interesting decision here. And it's looking like Madeline's thinking about the creature. All right, Blood Tithe Harvester. It will be here for turn 1, getting that blood token out.
Looks like Nora is going to get that Thalia out. Grixis and taxes.
Good call. Good call.
And tax it will here, as Fable of the Mirrorbreaker will not be playable this turn unless, we're going for the Harvester play here. Nothing greater than a turn 3 Fable of the Mirrorbreaker here, which is a very, very early advantage here for Madeline.
Yep, that Toulouse will connive, but, Madeline still has the opportunity to be able to attack with that 2/2. They might be, getting rid of the 2/2, but, you could also get that treasure token and be able to get closer to that Invoke Despair.
Yes, so right now, currently a decision being made here, which one to discard, and only one here, as that is an Abrade off the top. So not a land drop yet here. It still can happen with the Corpse Appraiser, but let's see what Madeline's going to do here. As Madeline is in the tank, this is a pretty tough decision. There's a swing here with the Goblin Shaman token, treasure being produced. Down to 18 for Nora, and it's looking like we're going to get an Abrade here to clean the battlefield.
Yeah, Madeline, she offered that trade, and Nora said no, and so Madeline had to take out that Toulouse either way.
The trade was the advantage. You don't want a Rafine coming down and pumping that on the attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make sense that there was no block and that to force the use of at least a removal spell.
Right, that's going to be a Thalia off the top for Nora, as Nora is holding a couple legendary lands in hand, a Raven Man, and a Thalia here. So again, Nora needing to rely on the top decks here. And as stated during the pre-show here, we might get a chance to see how much Brotherhood End eventually can make a difference here. But instead, going for the Corpse Appraiser, multitude of plays here with the Grixis mid-range early here in game 1.
Yeah, we don't even need the. Unfortunately, we got off. Fortunately or unfortunately for the opponent, the Grixis deck got off to such a good start that it doesn't need to use the Brotherhood's End at this point.
Yeah, I think at this point, it would do more harm than it would good.
Urtai resurrected off the top, and now there is a definitely a decision to be made here. Looks like Thalia coming down the center. No blockers declared. Down to 18 for Madeline as we head into Nora's turn with into Madeline's turn with the Urtai there being floated currently in the hand, or one of the legendary lands as well. Looking like a copy of the Harvester here with Reflection of Kiki-Jiki.
Yeah, Madeline has the option to take out both Thalia or Raven Man. I think Thalia is probably going to be the choice, though, with that Blood Tithe Harvester copy, because Thalia is what's causing all these taxes, making it difficult for Madeline to, cast multiple spells. And honestly, Madeline's just having a hard time getting these lands right now. So any kind of tax is really hurting her.
All right, looking like it's going to be Otawara here. So that copy will fizzle. And this is quite the play here from Nora here, putting those legendary lands to good use. Still enough lands open for Alganjo to play a role as well, too. So down the middle here for Madeline, thinking about the Appraiser, but looking like just the Goblin Shaman right now.
Yeah, Madeline's probably thinking, she might be playing into the Aganjo. Doesn't mind trading off this 2/2. If she trades it off and, takes out the Raven Man, no harm, no foul. You get a treasure and you're making a trade. So it seemed like a pretty, safe play.
All right, Blood Tithe Harvester going down since we had that fizzle there off of Otawara. Goes to Nora's turn, and that is an Adeline off the top.
It looks like both of our players are struggling a little bit with lands because Nora has that Aganjo, but Aganjo's legendary. You can't play two of them, at least not as lands. So yeah, that leaves Nora with either play the Adeline or hold up mana for the Urtai or hold up mana for the Aganjo, but can't do more than one right now, unfortunately.
This now pressured into playing the Urtai on the Fable. Because you can't afford to have the value off of the Appraiser and the 3/2 anymore than it already is. If we just play the Adeline, it dies to the copied, the fabled version of the Blood Tithe, or I'm sorry, I forget the name of that card. Blood Tithe Harvester, right? So previously it was enough to just bounce the target of the Fable and hope to draw like a Rafine to pump the bird that was going to be coming into play at the end of the turn off the Raven Man. But now there's no choice because normally you're not going to want to necessarily give the value off of the Urtai hitting the Fable, because they could just draw into another something bigger or worse for you. But there was just no option at this point.
Down the middle with the Goblin Shaman, down to 14 for Nora as Madeline enters main phase 2, opts for the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker here to get out Kiki-Jiki once more, that being the intention. And now that is a Dennick off the top for Nora. So Dennick, Adeline, this is looking like a pretty full board on both sides coming up.
Yeah, getting that Adeline out, Madeline's been coming through with that Goblin. That Goblin's done a lot of work this game already. But now, it's not a safe bet to just attack that 2/2 in anymore with the Adeline out, unfortunately. There is still the option, potentially with one more blood token being created that you can just Blood Tithe Harvester. So I think at this point, Madeline's just waiting on that second Fable to flip to be able to do, the Blood Tithe combo and take out Nora's board one at a time.
So Aganjo there doing what Aganjo does best, and that's taking out targets. And now suddenly, Madeline's board is looking shrunken. But again, we are still looking at a Brotherhood's End right now, Madeline's hand. Also an Invoke Despair. So lots of removal still for Madeline here. Going with the blood token here, getting maximum options out with that land. And it is another land. That is a Xander's Lounge off the top here. And another land here, but no worries. Mirror Breaker enables to get rid of those lands there. And that is a Reckoner Bankbuster off the top. Another card that can conjure card advantage.
I think at this point, Madeline is starting to get into a bad position. So the Brotherhood's End is looking, stronger. Obviously you're going to take out your own Blood Tithe Harvester, but you can take out all of Madeline's board this way now.
Goblin Shaman down the center. and might I get out of role here for a second? There's the Brotherhood's Hood End that was discussed during the deck selection there. So good job on behalf of both of our expert commentators. No, you cannot dispute that. I call you both expert commentators here. Off of that, we were talking about that in the pre-show, and there it was. It is relevant. So now another Urtai Resurrected. This is looking like a different game right now between knowing what's in both hands here. Slight advantage here still to Madeline here, as we're about to see more hand advantage here from the Bankbuster plus the Invoke Despair, and that is an Abrade off the top.
Yeah, I believe Nora is keeping that Urtai for when the Fable, inevitably transforms to destroy it. But there is the chance that if Madeline plays that Invoke Despair, that Urtai may be used as a counterspell instead. It's going to be a little difficult because that Invoke Despair with Nora having an empty board, that's just 6 damage straight to the face, taking Nora down effectively to half their health. Of what their current health is, at least.
Indeed, this is a very close game so far, and we do have even more lands. But the thing about the Grixis deck is that it can overcome the land flood here, and here it is, as called. There we go, Urtai to counter the Invoke Despair. That is a great call, not only by Nora, but also by Headology, who called that before it happened. So, well done.
So we blood token at the end of their turn, most likely, and get rid of the springs to find more action. This was the window, though. The draw of a land there for Nora instead of a Rafine, for example, is pretty devastating.
All right, Urtai down the middle here. Madeline going to take the damage there. Kiki-Jiki proving to be a valuable card to get off the field. That is a Make Disappear off the top for Madeline.
Backup.
And looking like a draw with the Bankbuster with a follow-up of what will likely be Fable.
Yeah, I believe the Fable will probably come out next, and then, Madeline can hold that Abrade. I think I personally would be holding that Abrade up against the Dinnick just because you don't want Nora to gain any more life. It's kind of been a back and forth slugfest at this point, so any sort of life gain is going to be really detrimental to Madeline's play.
Fable indeed does emerge onto the battlefield, and now Make Disappear and Abrade will be held by Madeline as a means of serving as a reaction. Again, Make Disappear also being able to be a bigger card by sacrificing in order to make the cost even heavier here. And that is a Raven Man off the top for Nora.
Yeah, unfortunately, Make Disappear late game is, it's never as great late game.
We do have plenty of sack fodder for it, though.
True.
All right, down the middle for Nora here with the Dinnick and the Urtai. And Kiki-Jiki duplicating the Goblin Shaman token. On declaration of blocks here, that copied token will head towards Urtai. Token's going to get sacrificed anyway, so great block there.
There is still the option of the Plaza to make it, is it indestructible and hexproof?
Mhm.
I don't know that they will take this route though.
Nora's in the tank thinking about the plaza here. And the Plaza of Heroes is used on Urtai, taking advantage of what looks to be like a tricky field situation here. And
Oh, brutal.
Madeline has the chance to strike back with the Abrade here, choosing to not do that. Down to 9 for Madeline, up to 14. And now we are going to see that make disappear.
That the reason I said brutal, that make disappear now becomes live.
Yeah, without even needing a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And also just losing that copied goblin, that's nothing to Madeline at this point. So that Urtai, we can always copy a goblin again and block. So protecting that for Madeline didn't make, wasn't big for her.
Both players appear to be out of gas right now, as the draws from Fable only produced another Otawara, which again, it's okay, but it's not quite what Madeline was hoping here for. So the one advantage here being the Kiki Jiki here, as Madeline's figuring out, okay, how am I going to use this? There are a couple different ways. How would you all use Kiki Jiki right now to stabilize the board even further for Madeline?
I would probably have attacked with the Bank Buster here, crewing off the 1/1, but I'm greedy. Because I have
think
2
I
kill
would have
spells in
too.
hand. And I would have left back the Kiki and activation on the token. But they're going to do it this at the end of the turn, so they're going to get to keep the token through the turn. So, yeah, seems good.
All right, so we are being held here. There was a thought. There was a thought about the Otawara. That's a difficult play to make, but that is a Bank Buster. Another regular Bank Buster off the top. The gift that keeps on giving. Something you absolutely love to see in this current board state.
Yeah, it's better than
I might have
one big
gotten
buster.
a little bit greedier overall on here and discarded like the Otawara, for example, to a blood token to try and find a creature that's better to Fable. But again, I'm very greedy. And it looks like this line is paying off, so.
Indeed, that is a cut down for Dennick here. Now, as a reminder, Dennick can be played from the graveyard, so the Dennick will not be entirely dead as of now unless there's a way for it to be removed. But again, currently, as a reminder, that is 2. He has 2 Reflection of Kiki Jikis. Those are not legendary.
Yep.
They should be, but they're not.
Yeah,
Agreed.
next turn, if we do know that Nora has the Otawara in hand, but also bouncing a Kiki Jiki feels bad because that's just so much more value. You might not be able to do it's not an infinite combo, but it's a pretty good combo that you can do with the double Kiki Jiki. But you're still giving them, another goblin, another chance to loot, and then it eventually does come back. So Nora has an option, but it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the center there, down to 6 for Nora. Again, this is quite the nice match. Nice score here. Sorry, someone had to say it. I couldn't help it. But that is a Rafine's Tower off the top here for Nora. So again, it's not what you want to see at the lane. However, there is the cycling option here. But now, it seems like a lot of mana for something like Esper. That is not quite the amount of mana that Nora would wish to have at this stage of the game, given everything.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a surrender.
Yeah, that was going to be
that was a rough
to come
one.
back
Like
from.
I said, if they don't find Rafine pretty quickly, things can get very out of hand. And of course, that the Brotherhood's ends are still pretty devastating against.
Also, I'd like to just say, I don't think we saw a single Rafine from Nora that whole game,
No,
right?
not once.
Nope.
That
Didn't
was
find
very
one.
unfortunate.
All right, here. So we're going into the tank with the sideboarding here. Something we were talking about was definitely will walkers play a role in this game? Because again, there is no Elder Spell here, right? So there's no mass removal of walkers. I don't recall seeing a ton, if any, of Shieldred's edicts here. Walkers might be king in this matchup, given both deck lists.
Or not.
Or not.
I mean, a single one came in.
I don't know what's going to happen. It was just one of those things.
If one has access to Invoke Despair, the other one may not side into walkers.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just another target for that. Oh, however, for Madeline, this is not the opening hand you want to see with only one land.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that is a mulligan for Nora as well. Both players mulliganing here early on
Yeah.
in game 2. And again, the lands are not plentiful, but 2 seems to be enough for Madeline, as there is a keep there with the Xander's Lounge. And I keep wanting to sound Canadian here. Ottawa, it might be Ottawa. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look up that pronunciation later. So we have our favorite Defector Might here early on for Nora. And now that is a Denic. Oh, and by the way, there's the Rafine we were talking about here.
There's
and
the Rafine. All right. And there's the mana to cast it, I believe, off the plaza, and the Eganjo and other land that's in play here.
So that is a cut down on the Skrelv. Here's why you have to get rid of that unless you're using a wipe if you want to get rid of anything else with spot removal. Down comes the Rafine, and in comes the swing from Denic.
Yep. Now we have a game. I was worried after there's a double Nora double mulliganed the first game and single mulliganed the second game. So I was very worried about how this would go.
All right, Madeline here paying the tax on the ward for Rafine as if Rafine wasn't powerful enough. Now there's a ward, and that is another Skrelv off the top here as Eganjo is going to be played here, which will be likely into Sheoldred.
Sheoldred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one nice thing about Sheoldred, she's got a big booty. She survives Brotherhood's End.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this feed before I did, but that is a Brotherhood End off the top there. And that is a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Normally very good card, but a very tricky one considering that Sheoldred's on the field. And now down the middle once more here for Nora. Down to 8 already for Madeline.
Ooh, the Make Disappear is a lovely follow-up there to protect the Sheoldred too, because Madeline is struggling a little bit on lands. The 2/2 may attack and just suicide itself just to get another treasure token at some point. Here it doesn't need to because there's nothing that can block it profitably, but so it will get in for a treasure token here, but there was no land drawn here, so it may be that Make Disappear plays a huge role in shutting down this game.
Yeah, absolutely, because even if, Madeline has the 2 to pay, Nora does have the Skrelv that at that point, if it's worthwhile to counterspell, sack the Skrelv.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that does seal the game.
Yeah.
Yes. Sheoldred there doing its thing. What were you going to say there, Misha? It sounded like you had a thought there I didn't want to end.
Just looking at Madeline having a 2 HP in a dream and knowing that that Make Disappear, even if it happened, won't. Well, yeah. That Make Disappear will keep the Sheoldred alive, and that will be our game 2.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
Going to game 3. Wow. I know this is my first week on play-by-play. Did that say Esper aggro? Hang on, let me take a look at this thing here.
It's Esper mid-range, but it can have extremely aggressive starts.
Yeah.
Grixis can be, decently aggressive, but I think the Esper can be much more explosive.
Yeah, after what we just saw, I would have to agree with that.
All right, here, heading into game number 3 here. I'm hoping for no mulligans. I'm hoping
Me too.
there's been enough.
Game.
Yeah,
we have seen a lot of mulligans. This looks like an okay hand for Madeline. There's all 3 colors. There's playables. Can't really see Nora's hand, but looks like they're thinking.
1 mulligan so far.
So this looks like a pretty well-balanced hand here for Madeline so far. A couple lands, bunch of stuff to cast. You really can't ask too much.
No.
That is another mulligan for Nora.
Well, there is at least a turn 2 Thalia on Nora's side.
All right,
there's a cut down here for that.
We don't need to say that. We'll see it in action, I'm sure.
Oh God.
All right, and that is the Thalia. That is the Thalia, and now I believe we're going to see something similar to what we saw in. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let the experts handle this one. That is the cut down, which was played first.
Just as Headology predicted.
That one was not a hard call. exactly. And we got the
Oh,
Kaito.
there's
All
walkers.
right.
I knew there was
There's
going to be
walkers
walkers.
now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Just real off question here. That should have been a raccoon, not a ninja for the thing.
A raccoon ninja is what it should have been.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Should have been a critter.
Wholeheartedly.
All right. So
Like corpse appraiser seems like a wise choice here too.
Yep, corpse appraiser here indeed.
Have to build out the board, can't sit back on the make disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Thalia is luckily in the graveyard, so get the value.
Yep, get in that land. Okay.
All right, so springs were chosen as a result of that, and now we're going to have Blood Tithe Harvester down the middle here, down to 14 already for Nora. Madeline already starting to kind of emulate the, hey, I can play aggro too here. So
if
now...
the Sheoldred comes down, though, the Invoke Despair needs one more land to be live.
Mm-hmm. Which even with that Invoke Despair, there is a separate creature, the 1/1 and the Kaido. So the Sheoldred doesn't necessarily have to be the thing that's sacrificed.
Agreed.
And I mean, I know I wouldn't personally sacrifice the Sheoldred.
but
go for the throat.
I mean, Grixis has so much removal, access to so much removal.
Absolutely. That paves the way to take out both the Kaido and
keep the
face.
make disappear up. Yeah.
All right, Corpse Appraiser down the line. Blood Tithe Harvester over Kaido here, down to 11 for Nora, and still plenty of possibilities here.
Oh, these decks are gross.
Yeah, they are very
Standard
powerful.
is mean.
Welcome to one standard. And that is a land also off the top for Nora. And there is a Raven Man, Rafine, Kaido, a lot of things for both players. But as we're reminded, that is a make disappear that Madeline chose to sit on. So we'll see how much that comes into play here.
Yeah,
well, you said welcome to one standard. None of this is one standard. This is all previous cards.
Right? That's a very good point.
Hey, we are in season 9. This is themed as all will be one. It counts.
Yes, yeah.
And I think here Nora is testing the waters to see if Madeline has a counterspell before trying to play out the Rafine. Because Rafine's really what I think Nora wants on board. And getting that counterspell would be really dangerous.
All right, down the middle for the ninja. And now that is a Brother's Hood end off the top. But yet again, we're seeing Brother's Hood end where Madeline doesn't quite want to play that yet because it's difficult to navigate who's ahead on board. But with that second Harvester, it's very much looking like Madeline is. So again, we might not see Brother's Hood end played till later on, as we are seeing tapping a mana here for another Harvester.
Yeah, in order to leave up the blue source for the make disappear, the pain land was tapped.
All right, that is a Thalia off the top for Nora. Now, keep in mind, Madeline only has 4 lands, so that Thalia could be rather interesting here. But it looks like Madeline has other plans here for Nora's board. Rafine hitting the field.
Yeah, that was I was interested in that interaction because Make Disappear could be played, but Nora left open the 2 mana. So then that would make Madeline have to sacrifice one of the 2 creatures, and that just doesn't seem like a good trade when there's an opportunity to draw into a counter, or not a counter spell, but a either some type of kill spell for Rafine.
Well, the interesting thing is you couldn't even play if Thalia had been played first, the Make Disappear couldn't even have been played. Or if it were played to counter the Thalia, I think that's much better than against the Rafine.
I would agree with that.
So it's an interesting line choice there. So that there's a lot of different ways to play that out, and I'm not sure which one I like better, actually.
That is a scroll off the top. So the interaction there was Aganjo with no legendaries on the board could no longer be played at that point. So there was that could be done since there were 0 legendaries on the field. So now that is a scroll off the top. And this is a very difficult decision Nora has to play, being down to 5 life right now.
Yeah, this is difficult because obviously Madeline's tapped out, and Urtai has flash, but Nora's playing around that counter spell. Nora pretty much knows Madeline has one in hand, so playing Urtai main phase is probably the right choice because you're at 5 life and Madeline has a board. So yep, I think that was the right choice, taking that out and having a blocker for that 2/2 because I
I
don't
think I actually would have taken out the thing that can give treasure, but it turns out that there was a land drawn this turn anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Just having more mana is very good for this deck. And if we can stop 1 mana there, but it wouldn't have mattered because we have the Fable. So I guess getting the 3 power off the board is better potentially. I would have had troubles figuring out which one I should kill there.
Yeah, I think my only reasoning for wanting to take out the 3/3 is that if the Urtai were to be removed, you'd basically have to trade something off without actually trading creatures.
Yeah.
And before Kiki Jiki hits the board, that is a Brother's Hood end that hits the field, clearing the board and letting Kiki Jiki be safe, safely underneath Fable of the Mirrorbreaker until it were to flip over next turn. Interesting play here by Madeline.
All right.
Looking at the Harvester there, since the Fable would be flipping over next turn. On to Nora's turn, that is another Aganjo draw off the top here, as Nora is running out of things to protect the field and life points.
Yeah, at this point,
the Invoke probably comes down now.
Yeah, because those ninjas, those cannot block, correct? That's what that
They can block, they're just unblockable.
They're unblockable. Okay.
I think. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, they're unblockable. They're unblockable, so they can block.
They can block, yeah. Okay.
And there's the Agancho there for the Corpse Appraiser. And now there's only
And
one
here comes the
thing
Invoke.
left. And here it comes.
With Kaido being phased out, though, does the Invoke trigger that? It does not.
And that is a Plaza of Heroes off the top. Kaido going to one last time loot and into a second Plaza of Heroes. That is not going to be enough to protect Nora. GG's to both players. Madeline is your winner.
Well played.
GG's.
I feel like these mid ranges are just they're so the mana's so good that it's easy to run 3 colors and still play an Invoke Despair in your deck. For black. And that's just quad black in a 3 color deck shouldn't be this easy, I feel. And so that just contributes more to the versatility of the removal that black has access to overall. But the Grixis and the mid range and the white mid range are just so versatile. There's not much you can do. They have access to early board wipes, so aggression doesn't get there. They're also controlling decks later, so it's just like they can do aggro as well because all of their removal often tends to be on sticks. They have recursion. Yeah. Anyway, they just have it all, and I'm like, oh, sorry.
Well, no,
another win to the Grixis mid-range storm.
I was going to say, Ariana, the look on your face, both before and after that whole match took place, was just one of disgust towards the mid-range action. Like, oh my gosh, why is this a thing? Like that kind of thing.
I like really diverse metas. I like when lots of different decks can be played and expect to have a good game. I think that there are very dominant decks this time, and it's very clear which ones they are. The tier 1s are just very, very clear. You can get lucky with others, but overall, it's just the decks that are the best here are the best for the reason that they have literally everything at their disposal that they could want. They have the card draw, they have the graveyard hate, they have the enchantment and artifact hate, they have the controls, they have the in terms of like wraths and single removal pieces. It's just not fair. It's not really a game of Magic when you're. I mean, I suppose the mirrors then become the most interesting games played, but those are the ones I least like to play. So
They get
so yeah,
very,
disgust
very
is probably
grindy.
accurate. But I'm hoping that when we get to see like some of those fringe decks that they get to prove me wrong. I hope that we get to see something that breaks the meta wide open again. I really do.
Yeah, technically that Esper Legends deck was to be considered a fringe deck, but to me that's Esper midrange, right? Midrange is midrange is midrange. It's the same shell with a few different pieces in it, you know?
Yes.
So we do have 3 more matches coming up tonight. And again, I do want to say one more time, GG to both Madeline and Nora. Thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, I think
Madeline
those were navigated really well. That was a pleasure to watch, and a privilege. So it was really cool. So thank you all. GG's.
GG's. All right, we are moving on to our next game here. And we are going to be having Samantha Murphy versus Jenn here. So Samantha, by the way, love the dog. You just saying. I have to say this. I saw the picture. Went, oh, it's so cute. Anyway, Samantha, Division 16, 2-1, Grixis midrange. I'm so sorry, Ariana. We have to have another one of these. There were so many here, and it's hard to avoid Grixis.
Oh, but this has a few new pieces. The eye, the Wandering Eye, or whatever it is there. And the Blade Coil Serpent, it looks like, or something like that. That's pretty neat. As additions. Hadn't seen that yet.
Yep. So as a result, we do have the Wandering Mind as one of our cards to watch. But yeah, just a few different pieces and parts here. This time, Shieldred also appears to be in the sideboard here. Misha, any impressions on this compared to the one we just saw in the previous match?
Yeah, I think Ari already brought it up, but Wandering Mind, the Blade Coil Serpent, those. So Blade Coil Serpent is a very much a late game finisher. Like if you have the mana, it doesn't get countered. It's gonna wreak some havoc once it hits the board. And then, Wandering Mind, that's just, it's a flyer. It's, card advantage. So it's just a little spin on some of the other ones because you still have the Corpse Appraiser, you still have the Reckoner Bankbusters, but we're also seeing some not only make disappears, but main board negates as well. So I'm really excited. It looks like we're gonna see a little bit, maybe a little bit less just straight up removal, but it's not to say that it's not there. There's still a Brother's Hood in, go for the Throats of Braid, and a cut down. Just a tiny bit less than the last one.
And I love here what Samantha says real quick. I find that I feel pretty favored when my opponent tries to bring an off-the-wall deck. So I'd rather play something I feel comfortable playing. Well, off the wall is what we are getting for Samantha's opponent here. Oh, this one I'm very excited to see here. We do have another fringe deck coming up, Jenn's deck.
We got some red deck wins.
Yes. They are from Division 16, 2-1. How did you go about your deck selection process? My opponent has played Grixis midrange each week, so I played the deck with the highest win rate against it and main-boarded all the sideboard cards. And we have the classics such as Monastery Swift Spear, Lightning Strike, Burnished Punisher. It's everything you want to see out of red deck wins right now. How do y'all think that this deck is going to be able to combat the juggernaut that is Grixis midrange?
Well, the biggest thing is that, you got a lot of one drops. You got, your chicks are recursion. If you can get out, you can get through quickly. Like, that's going to be hard because Grixis is only has so many single counter spells and pieces of removal that if you can recur things, if you can just keep punching through, you can get there. And there's also, I think the second big thing about this is that Lightning Strike, Play with Fire, Kamano, those all can hit face. So if you're stuck on your board and you can't punch through with those creatures, punch them with the card. Like just straight up hit them with a burn spell.
Yeah, again the best card that Grixis has against this is still that Brotherhood's End. But I don't see it in the main board here. Oh, there's one. There's one in the main board.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily enough because this goes too wide. Grixis doesn't like things going wide against it. So that Brotherhood Zen is going to be really strong, but if they get out fast enough, it seems like it'll be a really favorable match. And yes, they do have the sideboard cards. The Punisher is going to punish the lands. Absolutely. And there has to be a few things like the corpse appraisers will hold off a certain number of these things before the Raizu comes down. So the Kumano early is going to be really important just to pump the 2/2s, the 2 powers into 3 powers to get through the appraisers. But yeah, this could be a really sweet matchup.
Yeah, another thing with that appraiser, we do have these phoenix chicks that will be sitting in the graveyard waiting to come back and fly. So that corpse appraiser might be able to exile those chicks. So there's going to be some interesting interactions in these games. At least that's what
Yeah,
I'm hoping for, and can't wait to see.
me too. Yeah.
One last thing before we roll into our match here. Weather Light completed. 3 copies for Jenn in the sideboard. I wonder what they have up their sleeve with this card. It's very interesting to see and look at. I don't know if we're going to see it, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I want to know what they were thinking, like in the best way possible, because that is awesome.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
thrilling. I hope it
Oh,
comes
yeah.
in.
All right, with that being said, we are going to roll on into this match here. Red Deck wins versus Grixis Midrange. Choose your allegiance. They are both on the opposite ends of the Magic play styles here. And here we go. Jenn on top. We are looking from Samantha Murphy's perspective here. But as always, we have I think, hand cam on top. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, that's a little slow, but you have the Bank Buster that you can potentially draw into some creatures. So I would probably keep this and just, well,
Yeah, that deck is so strong. I think that would be a mull.
that's fair.
All right, one mulligan it is for Samantha. Waiting on Jenn here. And there we go. We have a single mountain here. And let's see if we get that one drop. Okay, there we go. There's the hand cam. I knew it was there. Here it comes. I like fire chickens. Fire chickens are cute. And now we have, again, a very quick start here, as Red Deck Wins does, with Monastery Swift Spear here. Will we see the play with fire for prowess? You bet we will.
Absolutely. Go face draw 1.
One top.
And 1 top. Wow.
Yeah, that is a strong out of the gate for Jenn. I take back my statement about keeping that slow hand for Samantha. In reality, that would be the worst thing they could have done.
All right, no more lands here for Jenn. However, Bloodthirsty Adversary here, instead going for the swing here, and we're going to draw the go for the throat here for the Swift Spear. And we'll see what...
If only Strangle were a...
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yep, it'll take out the Swift Sphere, but the chick still comes in, and that hits face. I'm telling you, burn. Burn in this deck is playing a key factor.
But here comes the ever-loving value of Corpse Appraiser here, and that will be an abrade that is drawn into Samantha's hand here. Still,
and 2 dead lands bottomed. So much value off that appraiser.
And there comes the Strangle.
Yeah, Strangle here playing a role. Chicken Swift Spear down to 7 already. That is a Wandering Mind off the top for Samantha.
Yeah, this is difficult for Samantha because the Wandering Mind, it will very easily die to either of those creatures. It only has 1 toughness. So it might trade, but it's not looking great. So you have to hold the Abrade and the Negate up, but then that leaves you, powerless on board.
Bloodthirsty Adversary here into the Abrade, though. So once more, 2 more damage down to 5 for Samantha. That is a counterspell off the top. Wandering Mind going to hit the battlefield here, grabbing a critical cut down here that could help stabilize.
Nice.
This is going to be a close matchup here. Cut down for the Monastery Swift Spear. 20 life still for Jenn to 5 for Samantha here. And it looks like that Wandering Mind is going to get strangled up here. So again, a clear board here for the chicken to come down the middle.
Yeah, and Jenn, while Samantha's tapped out, going to play with
good
fire.
Play to tap, do it while tapped out and scry.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to miss that scry.
0 top. Another
Oof.
corpse appraiser off the top for Samantha here. Again, just a mega value card here. Going for the adversary. Let's see what corpse appraiser can fish. And doing a think here. Tough
The one
decision.
thing that Grixis doesn't do is gain life, which is super awesome for our red player here.
Unless Shieldred's on the field, but I don't think we'll see that till
Right.
game 2 here. That is a Mishra's Foundry off the top. Things just got even more spicy there. Ooh. Down to 1.
Yeah, that was I thought it was a little interesting that they put the Invoke Despair down, but then I looked at their mana base. Samantha, she doesn't have all of the black until, she just drew into a land, but at the time did not have enough black to play it. She even considered taking that Phoenix chick off the board.
That's not going to do it. And Samantha is not going to be able to stop the chicken from pecking off the last life here. And it looks like Mono Red is going to take game number 1 against Grixis Midrange. Can you believe it? Here we go going into game 2.
So we seem to have found Grixis's weakness.
Well, they were on the draw too, I think. So there's a lot that can be done against the deck. Here comes the second Brotherhood's End, second and third Brotherhood's End. Sorry.
Yeah, we will definitely be seeing those come in. Looks like the Blade Coil Serpent's coming out because we're not worried about that larger late game.
Yeah. Can't afford to wait to that. Shouldred's going to be key. So is are the Brotherhood Ends. Interesting.
Yes, I believe this is why folks started mainboarding the Shieldred, just because Shieldred is tough for Mono Red to deal with. Like, it's just find a way to get rid of it. We do have a Rebel Salvo here, though, from Jenn that is going to be Shieldred's kryptonite, if you will, here. So we might see that enter the deck as a result.
The Bloody Betrayal is actually interesting against Shieldred as well. Not to stop that. If they can just get through for the final points of damage that turn, right? Mm-hmm. Because it adds damage and it takes away the blocker. So as long as Shieldred hasn't already gotten out of control, the Bloody Betrayal is not actually bad against that.
Yeah, I was thinking both Bloody Betrayal and Rebel Salvo. Those are going to be great pickups here. Where the Shiva...
I don't know that I put in all of them because the problem is we still have to get under the Shieldred as much as possible. And under the other things. So I actually only... The salvo is nice, but I actually like the Bloody Betrayals only instead of putting all the salvos in. But that's just me. I might be missing something about why it's better to do it the other way around. But getting under the opponent's deck is really, really quite nice. I think you still have to go for that plan. I think if you play for the longer game that Rebel Salvo is, you might not get there.
All right.
All right. Going into game number 2 here, Jenn taking a single mulligan here. Samantha starting off with the Triome here. And it looks like we are going to see the chick. Yep, chick's back on the battlefield.
Oh, it looks like we're going to see a few chickens.
All right, that is a cut down and a braid here. So a couple different options here. But there is no land in Jenn's hand there, but there is going to be an abrade for that chicken. One of the chicks will go to the graveyard there, and here we go. It's another abrade. 3 lands though for Samantha here.
We're gonna see that.
And we're gonna get rid of one chickie here.
Mm-hmm.
Poor chickie. It does not get to Phoenix itself.
Right here.
The chicken never gets to become a Phoenix.
No.
Oh,
it's tragic, unrealized potential. Yeah, see, these Rebel Salvos just not. I don't think they do enough. Obviously, drawing 2 of the other card would be even worse to some degree. But I don't. I think just having the creature, the normal game plan, I think would be good, and then adding like 2 of the steal your creature effects would be better overall. But none of it matters because we don't have the mana. So oof.
Yeah, Jenn. We didn't want a lot of mana with mono red, but more than one would be nice.
Would be kind, yeah.
All right, that cut down's going to hit the chick this time.
Again, and then the corpse appraiser will again deal with it.
Yep. Getting rid of those chickens. The chicken is what took Samantha out in that first game, so exiling them, not letting them come back, That seems like the smart way to go. That Monastery Swift Sphere, especially because Jenn only has 1 mana currently, could potentially go up to 2 if they draw into a second one. Those Corpse Appraisers will be able to block those Swift Spheres pretty comfortably for now.
Oof, not even a land now? Come on.
That is Kamano faces Kakasan here, still stuck on 1 land. Dealt half the damage on 1 land, which is really impressive, to be fair. But against Grixis, that full damage has to be dealt as soon as possible here. Otherwise, we start to see the card advantage just rolling on in here. Springs off the top here for Samantha, looking like a Fable the Mirror Breaker going to hit the field. And this is just looking like card advantage upon card advantage here for Samantha Murthy here in game 2.
Yep, only going in with the 1 Corpse Appraiser for now. Oh, Jenn finally got their second land. We're going to see that Bloodthirsty Adversary come out, get the pump from Kamano.
We have both the Abrade up and the Reckoner Bankbuster draw, so there's a lot of advantage still to be had.
Samantha opting to draw a card, and it is raining Fable of the Mirror Breakers right now. Just literally raining Fables.
So many that Samantha decides to toss one.
Here comes the Abrade here, targeting our vampire friend here. And now, just down to not much here. A couple of salvos, Furnish, Punishers, Lightning Strike. Going to be a tough game to break through here for Jenn. However, all is not lost yet. We do seem to have still some direct damage present, but another Fable hits the field.
Samantha playing that very carefully.
Yeah.
She probably could have swung with the Corpse Appraisers, but not wanting to chance it, mono red can always surprise you with all that sneaky damage coming through.
Absolutely, it can definitely surprise you. The Fable, yeah, could have come out, and then you could have crewed the Bankbuster with both Fable tokens and leave back the Appraisers, swing for 4. But again, red is so explosive it can be if we just get the mana.
So here we're in the tank here with Jenn. Jenn trying to figure out what is the best use of these lightning strikes right now. And going down the middle. All right, looking like we're going to see a crew here from the Bankbuster. And we might see a block and then a card draw here off of the Bankbuster.
Yep.
Nice.
Extra careful to take out that Swift Sphere.
Yep.
All right, Lightning Strike to the Bankbuster. Here comes the draw from Samantha. Let's see what we get. It is another swamp off the top.
Fable
However,
will
that
take care of that though.
Yeah.
All right, that's
We'll
gonna do it.
Yeah, move on to game 3.
Yeah.
That was so much card advantage about to come through.
So much card advantage and only 1 mana for Jenn. That's a bit of a tragic game.
Yeah, to be honest though, that much damage off of only 1 mana for so long, very impressive still.
Absolutely.
I like the deck, the name that says this one, which by the way, 2 of the Rebel salvos are coming out of the deck. This is important to note here. You were talking about this earlier, Ariana. Yeah. So let's see what happens in its place here. Looking like a Shivan Devastator here, and we're just going to take the aggressive path forward. By the way, I was thinking about the Steal a Creature card for the Obliterator. That is brilliant to have that in there in case there was a Phyrexian Obliterator. Yeah, so... All right. Oh my gosh, did we just have a mulligan free game? I love it.
Kumano and Phoenix Trick or Adversary? Interesting. And there's that Punisher. What we do have the 3 lands for the Punisher this game. That's going to be huge. As long as the Abrade doesn't find it.
Yeah, I wanted to know. I forgot about that. That the Punisher, Samantha's deck has no basics.
Exactly.
Ooh.
That's why it's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's gonna be very punishing.
I see what you did there.
Hey, I told you puns were allowed here.
Yeah,
I-
the abraid's gone. The abraid's gone. That Punisher is live.
Puns are encouraged.
Yay, puns.
That's right. We love our puns here.
All
So
right.
now-
Oh,
Those
my
puns
end.
are
There we
gonna be huge. As long as the Brotherhood's end doesn't find off the top, this is crazy.
Yeah, because what's worse than one Punisher? The second
Yeah.
Punisher.
Uh-huh. Punisher Part 2, The Revenge.
Oh my, yeah. I think at this point Samantha is probably
This is
just gonna
pretty
be
gross. This is that. Yeah, those Punisher. Oh, that's beautiful.
It's so good. It
Yeah.
does punish those 3-color decks. Y'all are totally right about this. As the Punisher goes down the middle, now we have 2 punishment triggers on the stack, and suddenly we do have Shieldred, but is it too late now?
It
Is
is too
Shieldred
late.
Looking at what Samantha has in hand, there
It
is
is
no
too
way
late.
to
The
you
2
know.
Menace alone make it too late. There's nothing the Otawara or the Shouldered can do there.
Mm-mm.
There's the good game from
Yeah, those
Samantha.
Punishers.
This Punisher is better than the
Punished.
movies. Agreed.
I am going to say something that I have been frothing to say since Embercleave rotated out. And Mono Red wins the mid-range match against it. And oh my goodness
The aggro
gracious.
gets there.
It gets there. It gets there finally.
I'm very, if you can't tell, I'm very happy about that. I don't know. I just think Grixis and Mono White are destroying the format. So I'm just like, okay. This made me
GGs
happy.
to both players, though. You know,
Yes,
we do love
absolutely.
both of our players.
They were amazing.
I do want to note though that Grixis is powerful, Jenn's powerful, Esper's powerful. I want to note that Meat Hook is banned right now. That's Meat Hook banned, and it's still that powerful.
Yeah, they still had enough tools in the toolbox to crush people's dreams. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Any finishing thoughts about that? Because again, you all were saying, what is Grixis's weakness? And we see the Furnish Punisher. And like, I think all 3 of us at the same time realized what was happening in that moment. Everybody was smiling, by the way. We're just like, oh my gosh, there it is.
We're always going to be amazing against the Grixis. Yeah. It doesn't run any basics. So there was, that was amazing. We saw them when we were first reviewing the deck. That they were in there because they sided in all the stuff that they said was great against Grixis, and that would be the card that you most want to see really early, because if you don't see it early enough, the Shouldreds can start gaining life, or they'll have plenty of removal for it, and so on and so forth. So but yeah, really early, and it's just free damage beyond having a menace, which the most Grixis decks don't go wide, so you're not going to have the blockers that you need to stop it from doing even further damage. So it represents 5 damage usually on its own if they can't remove it right away, which is so nice for red. For 3 mana, that's a nice exchange.
When I was reaching out and asking questions, and I asked, what is your ideal hand? That was one of the key cards that Jenn listed that, they want to see in that opening hand. And we saw exactly why, because we saw not only 1, we saw 2, and that was crazy. It was crazy.
Yes. That the ideal curve has to be the Kumano into a 1 or 2 drop. It doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't. And then a Punisher against Grixis in particular. Against Mono White, no. And maybe against Esper, certainly, because Esper doesn't run anything basic, as far as or at least if it runs basic, it doesn't run enough for the Punisher not to punish. So yeah, that was sweet. That was really sweet to see it go off. And Grixis, showed us its power in the middle game, of course, and in the previous match. So,
well, thank you, and GG again to both Jenn and Samantha. What a match! Well, we still have 2 more left here, and this one is going to be quite awesome here. 2 decks we haven't seen, and no Grixis. We get a break.
All right.
So
no Grixis.
No Grixis. So let's take a look at those. not Grixis deck list here. So we have Wub here, and they, as at Division 14 2-1, they have brought Jund Midrange, one of the decks that I have registered here. So again, we're still getting that Rakdos feel here, but we get a little bit of green as a treat. As a treat. And here we have some Glissa. That is the big reason to play Jund. Glissa is just unstoppable. We still see the Brothers Hood end, but there's a lot of unique looking cards here that we don't get a chance to see. We have the Maze Crusher. We see a little bit of Flesh Gorger here. Some people who don't want to see mono red, that is one way to combat it. Some Grixis Commands main board and some Shivan Devastators as well. What do y'all think of this? This is cool.
I think Glissa's pretty stoppable with an abrade, by the way.
Hey, let me dream a little bit. I like Glissa,
Sorry.
okay? No, you're good. You're good. Totally relevant. Totally relevant. But I mean, as a creature on the board, Glissa does pretty well.
Oh yeah, no, very powerful card. Absolutely. Sorry.
You know what a braid doesn't kill though? Miglaws.
Yeah, Miglos does not die to a braid. That is absolutely true. Nor does it die to cut down, but Go for the Throat still takes it out. Nor does it die to the Brotherhood's ends. So that's nice. Miglos is a powerful card as well. I wonder, so Flesh Gorger here, we're not running any of the like crazy synergies with Bring It Back once it dies. It's only supposed to be Grixis commanded back, is that correct?
Yeah, I think Grixis Command is the only graveyard recursion spell. I do think it's nice. I think it's just mostly in here for, Menace Lifelink and the fact that there's the versatility that you can play it for its prototype cost. So you can have it early game, late game. And that's
Yes,
always something you want.
absolutely. Got it. So it's not this isn't primarily a reanimator deck. I understand. Okay. So it's ramping with the Scrap Gorgers. Okay. And then it's trying to get out a quick Glissa Miglos and an early huge Devastator, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, that appears to be.
It just looks like value. It doesn't look like it's really looking for synergistic stuff as much as just value cards.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I want
Got
to
it.
point out one more
I
sentence.
haven't encountered this one yet, so I'm looking at it. And the sideboard has Duress and Invoke Despair.
And to Unleash the Infernos. I'm excited about that.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
One last thing here. Ideal opening hand for the deck. Love this question, by the way. I believe Misha came up with the questions this week, and they are wonderful. So this is 3 lands, Scrap Gorger, cut down a braid. Glissa. Glissa's in that ideal opening hand. Just saying.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, first strike Death Touch is nice if it stays on the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm just teasing. You're right, though. There are some things to look out for. Braid seeing a lot of play. Absolutely. Certainly something to consider here. And let's head on over. This is another deck, another fringe deck we were talking about earlier here. We have.
Oh, I love it. It's toxic.
We have Rena here, and she, Division 14-1-2, has brought White Toxic. And then again, now we were talking about this as an MTG1. If this is an MTG1, I don't know what MTG1
Yes, this is beautiful. Like. I love it. I love it. It's like one of the it's like a super overpowered draft deck. I love it.
This is basically entirely one cards with a little tiny, throw in from Bro and some lands from Kamigawa.
So the Crawling Choruses will survive, the Sentries will survive, the 3 main decked Brotherhood's End. Most other things will not. I think this may be is there going to be a Brotherhood's End, but I do like the lay down arms situation against the Jund stuff here, because the lay down arms are going to take out the big creatures that we have to be worried about in the other. I do worry about the Brotherhood's Ends. That's again the worry on this deck, I think, because everything dies to it save the 1/4, and even the chorus is just going to replace itself. So worrisome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Lauren's Escape, the 2 Lauren's Escape could protect something. And the Complete Devotions could put something out of range, but only the Overseer or the Sentry even still. So this is going to be an interesting one. I do think it will hinge on those Brotherhoods End in the original the opening match, at least. I can tell you the Unleash the Inferno is not coming into this, most likely. I mean, it does do direct damage beyond the thing, but it doesn't have to. It's very expensive, mana wise, for what it does to this deck. I think actually it might. Hold on, let me read that card again. 7 damage to target creature, planeswalker. When it deals excess damage to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Maybe if you're gonna tackle the Skrelv's Hives. But I think it does enough damage too quickly to want that. I think this match favors the Jund, in my opinion, but I really want the other one to win.
Wait a second. I don't think we're supposed to be biased.
Oh, I'm not biased against the players. I bet the players are fantastic and can make anything win against anything else.
I mean, who doesn't want to support the Skrelv Squad? That's
I mean,
that's
yeah,
nickname is
I mean,
Skrelv
sorry,
Squad.
I want to support the Skrelv Squad.
You can support lore. I certainly support that, especially Skrelv. Skrelv is such a good little mite. Big fan here. Well, let's see how this pans out here. We got a match ahead of us here. And again, this is a Grixis free match here. So for folks that are like, I'm tired of looking at it, here you go. Here's your match. Don't say we didn't do you a favor here. All right, here we go.
What's better than 1 Glissa? 2 Glissa.
2 Glissas. But there isn't the ramper, so this is a little bit of a risky hand because you don't have the 3rd land, nor do you have the Scrap Gorger, which can ramp you into the other stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think I personally would keep this because you do have the cut down in hand, and so you can just kind of hope that you can coast and draw land.
Yeah, you're
by
also
that
on the
turn.
draw, so I definitely would keep it. It's just a slight risk.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yep,
All right.
it's a
Oh,
risk,
God.
that's for sure.
So looking like a decent start for both players, but that ever so persistent chorus is on the field. And here is Skrelv's Hive for support here. 1 poison, 19 life to Wub's turn next here. And let's see what we have here. Looking like the Gorge still. Did drop a Sagey though, so we don't have to worry about being caught up on lands here. And looking like Wub's going to sit here on the cut down. They made a great decision here again, just kind of sitting back. You know, Devastator is probably better later on. So here we go, down the middle for the chorus here. This is going to be likely another poison. Yes, 2 poison, 18 life, and a 3rd land here for Rena. Let's see how this next turn unfolds.
Yeah,
This
this
we
is
couldn't
difficult
add
for
anything to the board
Wub.
here.
Yeah, I was going to say that for Wub, it's a little hard because you don't really want to cut down that crawling chorus because it's a 1/1. You want to save that for some of the other. I know a lot of Rena's creatures are pretty small, but you typically want to keep that for something a little different. But not knowing if you're going to draw another red source to Brotherhood's End, it's
Oh,
a risk. And
Oh,
then, of course,
boy.
you draw the red source for the Brotherhood's
yes.
End.
Then you just draw it. It's okay.
All right, doing a thing here about the lands again. There's a lot of land choices here. Going with the Glissa this time, the Glissa Sunslayer. And now there is a choice that has to be made on Rena's side now.
There's going to be mites added to the board, and then the Annex Sentry is going to try and take out the Sunslayer. And then, unfortunately, Brotherhood's End is just going to say, no more mites for you.
Sounds right.
So
Yeah.
let's see if we're going to see the Sentry or if we're going... No, this is definitely going to be the Sentry. All right, so the Sentry is played here exactly as foretold here. The Sunslayer is taken. This is going to be 4 more poison and 4 more life damage here. So going to be 6 poison, 14 life. Lifelink is now enabled for...
Question will be whether Lauren's Escape gets played on 1 mite just to keep it alive. Because that's 2 more...
No, the Sentry will get hit
So
here.
it's going to be on the Sentry then. Yep.
Mode number 2 here is selected here for Brotherhood's End. Lauren's Escape.
Sense.
Protecting the Sentry here, 0 top here. And now, again, board looks a little less scary here. Boseiju will be played for Wub. And now, game looking a little bit different here in terms of the board state. But that is a charge of the mites off the top.
That's a charge of the mites.
Yeah, this is looking a little scary. Wub at 7 toxic already, and just more and more mites. All the mites.
All the mites, all the time.
The mites cannot be stopped here, but that is a Grixis command that's looking rather juicy right now, considering this board state, as it could be cleared. However, those mites will keep coming and they won't stop coming.
Yeah,
so
the lands will also be able to produce the mites as well. Just one of the lands currently, but...
So Grixis command looks like it's going to be selected here, both modes. Glissa will be restored to the field here, but then the mites are going to come back into play. And at 7 poison here, Wub is looking like they're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, this is not the time that you'd really want to be playing this Grixis command. You'd theoretically want to wait till you had, something better, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and you use what you've got.
So the ideal draw is actually probably a plains here, because the charge of the mites comes down at EOT. We get 2 mites. The hive makes another mite. Oh, they may actually do Murex instead. Interesting. They might use charge of the mites as a damage spell. That's a hard call. I think I would play the charge of the mites, get 2 mites, the hive gets another one, hope to draw a plains for the laydown arms so that at least one can get in this turn. But it looks like we'll see which line. There's 2 lines. You can take you can make a 1/1 mite and try to get there with another mite. Yeah, okay. I think this is the better line there.
Oh, there's the plains.
There's the plains. And here we go. That's 2 more toxic counters, and the land can still produce another mite at EOT.
That is an abrade off the top, and it looks like Wub is short on.
This is so great. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I love hearing your reactions. Your reactions are awesome.
Go, little mighties, go. All right. Okay. So now that there's a sideboard option, we may or may not see quite as majestic a game as that was. But now I'm good with either team winning. We're fine.
Well, it looks like the Hitsegu Consumes All is coming in, which again gets rid of all the tokens. So that's going to serve as another board sweeper. And yeah, it's hard to think of Annex Sentry as a artifact because it's got a big butt, looks like a creature. But yeah, that is actually an artifact.
Looks
so
like the Unleash is going to happen because they do have it gets rid of multiple artifacts per turn. So because it can get rid of one of the artifacts and guaranteed 7 damage is going to roll over, so it's likely that it will get rid of a second artifact as well, or a hive if one exists. So I do think the unleashes are. I was when I was looking at the beginning, I was like, maybe, but no, it will definitely come in here. It's just a 2-for-1, so they're happy about it, I think.
Yeah, Wub looks like they are going to be lowering the curve here, which is the right call. This is a great sideboard plan here for Wub. Kudos to them. Again, this is not an easy matchup here because you don't know what to expect, and that's what we love here in the VML. You never know what kind of deck is.
Yeah. And the Soren's coming in will give the life gain is really powerful off the Soren, and a Planeswalker, a renewable source of creatures is really, really nice for the Jenn deck against this deck.
Looks like Rena also, she puts in a White Sun's Twilight, a pair of them. So now a wipe is on the board for her as well. So interesting choices.
A wipe that can produce more mites.
It's only a wipe at 7 though. So that means that it just produces more mites often. That's often going to be a play. But if things get out of control, the wipe is absolutely so crucial. But 7 has to happen first because X has to be 5 or more.
So Skrelv turn 1. Now we have a Blood Tithe Harvester here, and there's going to be a decision made on lay down arms here. Lay down arms, and Skrelv coming down the middle to deal the first poison damage to Wub. Wub with the Soren here, and now we're going to see the Maze Crusher hit the field.
Love to see the Miglas.
All right, there's that White Sun's Twilight too hitting, so we will see exactly how that's going to be made best use of. I suspect it might be a longer one, so they'll probably hold it for quite a while.
Lay down arms here for Miglas, and we're going to see the Jawbone Duelist here. Skrelv Jawbone Duelist proving to be a tough duo to counteract. However, we are going to be having a Soren here, so a Planeswalker here, and Let's see what mode Wub ends up picking.
Ooh, interesting. Interesting. This incentivizes the attacking of the Planeswalker, which goes against the main plan of the opponent's deck of killing with Toxic. That's really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Wub had made the vampire token, which is what most people when they first play Sorin end up doing, that Annex Sentry would have come in and that would have been horrible. But that was an interesting line, and I think it was the right one to make on Wub's side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed. So Rena here in the tank, and it comes down to the debate again. We're talking about, do you go for the walker or do you just hope to race to poison? And with Scrub on the field, that's so tempting.
Because if you give the duelist another version of Toxic here, you can get 4 counters. Because it'll have effectively Toxic 2, which means it'll hit twice, so you'll have 6 counters total. I think they're gonna go face.
Yeah, I think that should always just be Rena's goal, because even if Sorin gets to ult or if Wub gains life, I think Rena's really striving to get that toxic kill.
Yeah, just gotta go fast. Like, I think this is exactly the right play from both players.
Yeah, because aside from just now, Wub did not have any creatures.
Oh. All right. Charge of the Might's coming.
Unfortunately for
Rena.
Rena.
Gets annexed. And then the Grixis command. Interesting. This is going to be a really interesting game.
Unfortunately for Rena, Scrub was off duty at the time, so the duelist could not be saved. But that is an Annex Sentry, and that currently is on duty here. So again, going for face most likely with 6 poison counters here. Sorin actually going to be 9, poison counters here. This is again a very close game, but that Grixis command is in Wub's hand.
So brutal.
This is going to be a really close game here.
Back.
I do believe that Wub would still need to go for the 3 damage. Is that right? Because the mites are not.
They're artifacts.
Oh, they're artifacts.
Never mind.
They're all artifacts.
They
yep.
are.
Yeah, there's that was brutal to have a backup plan, because the first and second Grixis were already brutal and backbreaking, but to have a third board wipe is going to mean that White Sun's Twilight even isn't going to do it. Unless there's a way to directly add a toxic counter, getting through is going to be really hard.
If only White had Proliferate.
That would have been gross. Yeah, Proliferate would have been interesting.
I'm interested to see because I know Cleansing Raptor is in the side of Rena's deck. So that could be an interesting one. Granted, you have to survive
board wipes, and the Grixis command is going to be so painful.
Yeah, and if you're Rena right now, the cut down is there, as depicted by the red eye there. So right here, Rena should know something is up here, because normally you play the cut down, you try to minimize this, but there are other plans at work here for Wub here in game 2.
Yeah.
Going to be even sadder for Rena after she rebuilds her board, and then there's the second Grixis coming.
Exactly, the third. Like, I was like, you could, through 2 you get sour, right? Through 3 you're like, just make it stop.
Hey, at least it's not an instant wipe like Teferi Time Raveler did. At least this is a sorcery as nature intended, played on the player's turn. At least there's that.
But yeah, intended. I like that.
Well, I'm sorry. I have feelings about Time Raveler. Okay, very, very feelings about that. Okay, looking like the Shivan Devastator here. Okay. Oh, that's what's going to happen here. So Grixis command is going to activate, and the intent is to make the Shivan Devastator stronger here. So now there is lifelink on this, and oh my goodness, the Shivan Devastator coming in up top here and going to +1 Sorin again here for an Unleash the Inferno, and that is a Charge of the Mites off the top for Rena.
This is the first time that I think I've ever seen Sorin get to a level that he can ult. I'm not sure if that's what Wub's going to do, but I don't think I've ever seen Soren at 8 before.
Without proliferate.
True.
That charge of the mites could get there. It could end this game. There's a small chance. If there's tap out, this is interesting.
All right, let's see what they do here. So they +1 want that card advantage. That is an Abrade on the top. Instant removal could be the key here for Wub surviving. Wub getting down the middle saying, I just want this to be over. And now there is a cut down and Abrade. And remember,
as long as they don't tap out,
Rena can see those too.
Yeah. So both of them will die to the Unleash.
That's a 2-for-1 there.
That is a lot of removal in Wub's hand. Wub's been holding on for a while at 9 toxic.
The cool thing about getting rid of the Devastator of the Century is that it doesn't really come back as anything.
Yeah, Sentry here is essentially going to kill the Devastator, but Cut Down is played first, and it looks like Devastator's safe as a result.
Yep. Had to go for it, though, I think. Work through the removal. Oh, boy.
Now, y'all were talking about that Flesh Gorge earlier. Oh, we're going to see an ultimate. Never mind. We never get to see this.
I have never seen Soren do that, and I'm very excited that that's how Game 2 is ending.
Oh, that was great. Wow, and we're heading here into, I believe, game number 3 here. What a wild matchup. And again, this is why I love the VML. As a reminder, folks, the VML features matches that we typically don't totally follow the meta. There is some meta, as we showed on the slide, but you end up running into those decks every now and then. And you end up with matchups like this every now and then. It's just like, oh, the changing of decks every week creates just really fruitful matchups like this that you can't catch elsewhere.
Wub saying everything's fine. Gonna send it back. Rena taking a look.
Yeah, it really will. The mass removal, however many mass removal, that's the key. That the Jenn deck draws here.
Ooh, that is rough for Wub. Only 1 Boseiju. That I do not believe that Wub can keep that.
No, definitely not.
Anybody got a Jim's Hand of the Week snapshot?
This is much better already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's... Wait, what?
Remember, Hitsugu does take out tokens.
Oh, Hitsugu takes with 1 or fewer, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah, although that Gix... And, you know...
Oh, and you can
just
draw
try
one.
We never didn't have it.
You know? Why isn't this my life?
I love that Wub's even highlighting the return of the Gixes.
Question from the chat. What was giving Shivan Devastator lifelink? That is from Gix's command. That is one of the modes from Gix's command, in case you're wondering.
I gave +2/+2 counter and lifelink.
And that was temporary lifelink. It's not a lifelink counter there. All right, so scroll down the middle here. And now we have Crawling Chorus.
No lands drawn for Rena.
Yeah, Rena's stuck right now, and you don't want to be stuck on lands, especially when you have removal like Laydown Arms. That's so critical. Oh yeah, it's 1 or less, so that does take out currently what is on Rena's field. But while opting to wait a little bit longer, say, maybe I can get a few other things here.
Yeah, a few more on the board. That the Hitsugu plus the Gixis. Two removal. Wow.
Yeah, and you know, obviously next turn Wub will only be at 4 mana, but you know, you have 5th mana in hand. So you know that Gixes still can come out.
I like this play. Getting a couple more counters.
I think it's time for Wub to hit Hitsugu.
Yeah. There's still gonna be 2 toxic creatures mites left over, so that's nice for Jenn. Oh, sorry, Rena. Jenn was last game.
Meanwhile, here, Rena's like, wait a second. The saga Now I'm, a lot of people forget about Hitsego consumes all. Okay, there is a land off the top here. So Rena is not completely stranded without land. Lay Down Arms becomes live again. And now this is quite a predicament here if you're Rena.
Yeah, this is interesting. Do you lay down arms, the Scrap Gorger, and get 2 more toxic? Or do you hold up the Charge of the Mites and then just, attack your 1/1s into the 0-3, get 1 point, but then get more mites? It looks like that's potentially going to be the route.
Choosing the destroy target artifact mode. I like this with the Abrade. So now Rena here is saying, okay, what does this exactly do? And again, we don't see this card played too often. It's relevant, but we don't get to see it played too often here. Mode 2 happening on the Saga. All graveyards have now been exiled. Not as relevant early on, except for that Grixis command. That is relevant there. But now we have 2
All right, now we have the charge of the mites coming down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a little bit difficult because for Wub just played their second Scrap Gorger, but that Grixis command, if used to clear the board of mites, will also take out Wub's Scrap Gorgers.
Yep, looks like that sentry's coming down.
Mm-hmm.
The first of them. Fortunately, there's a follow-up and a Mite Overseer, which is interesting. The fourth land for the Mite Overseer has been hesitant to show up, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to be 2 more poison for Wub here. Wub, again, finding a familiar predicament to 6, but as I have been told, it is not over till the 10th poison activates or 0 life happens. So, again, Wub is still very much in this here, and the Grixis command is even going to bring it more into Wub's favored board state here. So, destroy each creature with power 2 or less. And, what else looks good to Wub? 2 creatures from the graveyard back to the hand here, bringing back the Scrap Gorger here. Good defense after all.
All right. And then, if I'm remembering correctly, that Hidetsugu, granted, it's just been exiled.
Oof. Oh, wow, what a draw. The Boseiju here on the Sentry is interesting.
It sure is.
It's not going to happen here because there's no need yet.
Another Scrap Gorger, and that is another Charge of the Mites here for Rena.
A new Hidetsugu, interesting.
Yeah, that's... With Hidetsugu entering again, making more mites is not exactly the route you want to go.
There is the second Annex Sentry as well, too.
I'm interested to see how many times that Hidetsugu could potentially be bounced and replayed, bounced and replayed.
Yeah, we're in the tank here right now. This is a difficult position for Rena to be in right now. So again, got Lay Down Arms, which could be used on the Harvester here. The Sentry could be played, but that's also going to be destroyed by Boseiju. The one good news about the Sentry being destroyed is that Rena could gain access to more land, which would open up the Mite Overseer. So lots of interesting lines here to take place here in game number 3.
It'd be really difficult actually to choose between which to Boseiju if they did Annex Sentry the Harvester, because if they Annex Sentry the Harvester, you kill the one with the Harvester, and then the Harvester comes back with a second blood token, and that Harvester can then kill the other Sentry in theory. So it's question whether you want the Hidetsugu or not. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I think Rena's really hoping for a land here to use the Mite Overseer. Does that pump the mites, I think?
Ooh.
Mite
Overseer. I will read it over really quickly. We don't get a chance to see these too often. +1/+0.
Just exile the Blood Tithe Harvester.
Okay, here comes the Boseiju most likely. Let's see. Yeah.
Up here, taking out some of the yard here, even though the yards will be eventually taken out once that Hidetsugu hits the field again. There it goes.
Making sure to take him out, because otherwise the Scrap Gorger doesn't get counters.
Mm-hmm.
Has to pick something out of the field to get a counter. The oil counters.
All right, so now the option.
All right,
of
this is where it gets interesting. All right.
Yes,
Mhm.
next century coming down to
Now
take
what
out
we're
his-
gonna do?
Looking like maybe another annex century here.
Mhm,
Yeah.
take out one of the Scrap Gorgers. Okay.
Wow.
It's a
That
game.
is a lot of lands that Wub has seen.
All right, Rena, that is a non-land there for Rena. That's important to note. That is a crawling chorus coming off the top. But now I'm sure Rena's looking at the Skrelv here. Skrelv into chorus here, going wide. And again, Jundex don't necessarily appreciate the width unless they have the width to go with it. So again, purely
They
going with
just
clear.
they
But
have the mass removal is the only thing that they answer that with, I think. Okay, but we're doing multiple things here, so.
soaring off the top again for that +1.
Oh,
And that
nice.
is a
Wow.
Glissa off the top. A Glissa, which will hold the fort down, except for that Skrelv. Watch out for the Skrelv. It's kind of tricky.
Well, even if they use the Skrelv, they can say if they can't something will still be able to block, because if you say black, the Scrap Gorger can block. If you say red, the both the others can block. If you say green, the 3/3 can block. So Skrelv isn't very useful here.
That is a land off the top here, and there's going to be a Might Overseer play in our near future here.
At least we think so.
At least we think so. Yeah,
They
there could
choose to
be a
use the
Mirrex.
land, the
Mirex.
Mirrex, yeah.
Yeah, and that's looking like what's going to happen here. End turn has been clicked, and the Mirrex is looking like that. That is in a braid off the top, but there's a Skrelv here.
Oh, 7 damage, yes.
Oh my.
Take it.
Woo!
That's it does have lifelink, so I mean
Yeah.
there's the opportunity to get it back.
It's pretty
And
beefy.
Wub goes for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's actually a perfectly fine draw here. Played at 7.
Wub
It
in the
also
tank here.
Skrelv can't get anything past. Actually, is the Phyrexian Flesh Scourger? I think it's still. Does it still have a black color? I think it's just I think it's still colorless, right?
I believe so.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yeah, so Skrelv
Yeah.
can't get past it.
There it is. A 7/5 Flesh Gorger. It's good early game. It's good late game. And here comes the Mirrex now for Rena here. This is turning out to be a pretty wild. Oh, and speaking of wild, White
well,
Sun's Twilight.
Yeah,
Whew.
Rena still needs a couple more mana for that to work as a board wipe, but
can do the go wide 6. So that's represents 3 tokens. Is that correct? And then there's 4 blockers, potentially another one off Sorin. Yeah, I don't know that it's enough.
Wow, this is a tangled game right now. As Rena's in the tank here, thinking about the White Sun's Twilight. So still not quite enough for the board wipe element. So looking like we're going to see the Might Overseer here. Maybe not.
I
Yeah,
think
this is a really tough thing to try to decide.
Yeah, I think if I were Rena, I would either play that Might Overseer or just keep using the Mirrex to go wide for as long as possible until maybe drawing a couple more lands. Because Rena still has some life to work with. I mean, you can't take many hits from that Phyrexian Flesh Gorger, but if you get wide enough, you might be able to take Wub out with Toxic really fast. And
Gotta
I
go
think
look
that's
at that
the
Might Overseer card.
my
Soren.
As long as
Overseer
you
is a
return
+1, +0
+1 and first strike.
Wow, that's a card. That is a Blood Tithe Harvester off the top for Wub here. That's a pretty key draw. Gives the blood token here. Also creates another thing to, oh, hang on, discarding the Glissa, another card to draw, I should say. And another Blood Tithe Harvester.
Wow.
This is a series of off-the-top draws here for Wub, and suddenly Wub's board is looking pretty healthy to deal with these mites.
Yeah.
All right, back over to Rena. That is another Mirex. If you're going to draw land, that is a land to draw there. And now we have the width of Rena's field with the life. The life would be equivalent to the width here. And now we have Wub there with 6 life. Could be more with the Flesh Gorger, but 6 poison right now. What a tangled mess this game number 3 has turned out to be.
That's interesting. Wub's looking at those two Mirexes that look very different.
And it's important to note that Skrelv is still not tapped. So even if that Abrade were to be put into effect, the Skrelv can protect the Overseer. So again, just neither side can really strike right now without it costing them the game. But it looks like Wub is saying, okay, well, go ahead and pay for this. But my goodness, this game. Could go for the Skrelv, though. Could go for the Skrelv.
It seems like that probably has to happen in order for any other draws to be live. Of
Mhm.
any other draws of targeted removal. So
Yeah, without the scroll, you can't really take anything else out. So you hate to use it on the 1/1,
yeah.
but
Mass removal will still work, but obviously targeted less so.
All right, +1 on the Soren here. That is a Shivan Devastator off the top. A Shivan Devastator. That is massive. Pardon the pun for how giant that dragon is going to be for Wub. Wub can finally break through the line and start to deal some much needed damage here. If Wub were to come back in game 3 here. Unbelievable draw. And it didn't cost Wub that much life either to draw it off of Soren's +1.
I think that's the thing I like the most about that is that you pay 1 HP for what can potentially be how much mana does Wub have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Or I mean, this has 4 too. Finally, we're gonna see some damage push through.
It is also important to note that the harvesters cannot be used to their full potential because, again, there's just so many little mites on that side of the field here. Going to be used to take out the Overseer, though, which is fair because that's going to start to become a problem quickly. So Wub, again, just assessing what's going on right now. That is a Skrelv's Hive off the top here for Rena. And this game is suddenly looking quite differently for Wub since that Devastator draw. Lifelink will be active for any creature with Toxic on Rena's side of the field.
The only difficult part is that those might tokens cannot block. So with Soren's ult and having a big 7/5 with
Yeah,
minutes.
I don't think there's another game, another turn to this game.
Oh, and then especially with that cut down, that's
Yeah.
Is that 2 Soren's ultimates in this match? 2?
right? Hadn't seen it before, but now I get to see it twice.
All right, Devastator coming on through for lethal.
Yeah,
And
there are multiple options
Yep.
there. Devastator, they could have used a cut down and then sent your 7/5 with menace.
wow.
That was a good end to that game.
That was intense. It was very clearly getting away quite quickly when we didn't find. So when Rena didn't find the 4th land for the Might Overseer earlier, there was getting away very, very fast. Once Soren's upticking for extra value per turn, there's not a lot of way to get through that way. And as soon as the braid, the braid was in hand several turns, and it was perfectly fine. As soon as that targets the Skrill, there's no real way to get through. So yeah, I mean, there's it was spiraling out of control quite early in that game. I think it was just there were a few windows really really early, and there was no way to capitalize. So, but props to Rena for playing that one all the way out. That was crazy awesome.
That
Still
was
trying to find it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great match. And again, just GG's to both players. What a fantastic match. Just back and forth each way. That is what you love to see out of Magic. Well, speaking of Magic, folks, we have one more match here for y'all tonight. And again, I am pleased to say, just for the sake of variety, that is another Grixis free matchup. So here we go into our final match of the night here. We have Violet here on Jenn Midrange, Division 15, 2-1. And she says, I like 2 lands plus Scrap Gorger in the opener. Doesn't have to be picky, just 2 lands, Scrap Gorger. Again, we have appearances here from Glissa, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Invoke Despair. So also, is that a Luca I see? My goodness, this deck looks
2
awesome.
Tyvars.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you say that we get some variety when we go directly into a second Jenn versus Mono White.
It's not Grixis here. What more could you want?
I know. Just teasing. I'm excited to see this one because, even though it might be the same 2 archetypes, the decks are not the same.
Absolutely. So again, we do get to see a little bit of Walker action here. Luca, Tyvar. So if you love Planeswalkers, a little bit of Nissa hiding there in the sideboard. Soren again. If you love Walkers, this is going to be a good matchup here from Violet. Let's see who her opponent is. And again, y'all spoiled it. It's Mono White again. We are on Mono White Midrange here. This is from BLM here. And he has brought Mono White Midrange 1-2, and let's see, ideal opening hand. I love the response here. So 2 to 3 lands, some kind of card advantage like Bankbuster. That's a good choice. Fetch a land like a Restoration or Farm Hand here, and then Eternal Wanderer, Farewell, White Sun, Mono White's lack of early game, add a Loran to blow up, Fable, or Bankbuster. Very, very specific, but you know what? It's okay to be specific. And again, here we do have the Wombo combo here of Eternal Wanderer and Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, I love the fact that so the thing is they were very specific and yet not specific because White has multiple things that do each of these things. I could have a Restoration or a Farmhand, right? I could have a Wrath effect that includes all of these 3, or I could have sorry, just the reason they weren't specific is they have all the things at their disposal here.
It's good to
and
have
this
options,
yeah. So this has a lot of the Mightstone Weakstone as actually a really interesting inclusion for me here. I have not seen that included in this deck, especially since it can't be gotten back with the Sarah Paragon. I'm used to seeing other things that can be gotten back with that, like maybe so they got the 4 Bankbusters. Like maybe one of the dogs, the Gaboys, the 1/1 dogs that
Spirited
draw a card.
Companion.
Yeah, Spirited Companion or things like that in that place instead. Obviously they have the Bankbusters and they have the Farmhands and the Lorens to get back, and of course the Ossifications if the Ossifications are destroyed. But I'm used to seeing I'm not used to seeing a Mightstone Weakstone, so I'm really interested in seeing how that goes. It is more draw effects, definitely, but it is at a 5 mana cost, so it does have that that versatility as well to -5/-5 something. But usually I think the Ossifications and the Laydown Arms are going to take care of that. We'll see. I'm very interested to see how that plays out in this one.
Can we finally give a VML welcome, by the way, to Elish Norn, Mother of Machines, the one of there in the sideboard. Big fan. Big fan. All right, I'm interested to see how these 2 play out. Again, same color archetype as last time. Very different cards in the deck. We're rolling into this match. Let's see what happens here. I am hyped for this one.
All right.
This will be from Violet's perspective here. And again, not sure if we have a hand cam for this one. So we may Yeah, we do not have a hand cam for this one, so we'll play a little guessing game here, all right? So again, Violet going second here. Looks like a pretty good first hand. I mean, this seemed like exactly what she was looking
Yeah,
for.
the
From
scrap
the
gorger.
Yeah, she asked for some
Scrap
lands and a
gorger.
scrap gorger. That's what we got.
All right.
I particularly like that we can get both the Bank Buster out, like everything in hand is playable. And we just drew another land, so it's extra playable now.
Right, so starting off on a Bank Buster, very similar turn 2 here, except we have a Scrap Gorger here instead of the Bank Buster. Okay, a little bit of a curveball there with the variety there. And now we go into turn 3 for BLM here. Let's see what's going on. We have a possible Bank Buster activation. Again, we can't see the hand, so it's a little bit of a mystery here. And probably opting here for the draw off of that, but we're going to see Shieldred here.
Shelly!
I do love a Shelly on 3.
No removal here at instant speed.
BLM getting pinged for 2 off that Shelly draw.
Reliquary goes down.
There goes the ossification on the Shelly.
Ossification, indeed. There is one way in which Violet can get rid of that, and it's sitting in the hand. It is Glissa. We'll see what Violet decides to go with here. And yes. There it is. There's the Glissa. All right, I was excited. Glissa hits the battlefield here, and looking like the Harvester is going to follow up here for a pretty mean-looking board presence early on in game 1 for Violet.
Mm-hmm. Scrap Gorger notably not getting the oil counter because there's nothing to exile in either graveyard.
Mirex hits the field here, and currently, again, this is a mystery. We can't see the hand here. Oh, looking like a farm hand here.
Get another plains.
And wedding announcement. Okay.
Looks like saving damage is one of the big priorities here until we build up into a Wrath effect, of which there are several, as we know. Eternal Wanderer would be an interesting one. Just let them keep the Scrap Gorger, or Farewell, of course, or White Sun's Twilight. So they're all sort of hitting. The Farewell and the Wanderers are at 6. The White Suns is at 7.
Down the middle for the Harvester here, 15 for BLM, a Bank Buster here played for Violet, and looking like likely a card draw plus a possible blood activation here, depending on what we see here. There is going to possibly also be another creature here for BLM off the Bank Buster. Also, wedding announcement is at 1 counter as well, too. Another farm hand here for a land. It is important to note that that Reliquary is also live right now. Live in the sense that it can draw 2 cards right now. One for the Artifact Bank Buster, one for the Enchantment Wedding Announcement.
Yeah, unfortunately for these farm hands, all we have on board are 1/1s. So we're not gonna get Coven anytime soon, apparently.
All right, Llanowar Waste getting discarded with the blood here. Let's see what the card off the top here is for Violet. It's another land. Gonna tap and get those oil counters started here off the land here for Scrap Gorger.
All right,
Draw
that's a
here.
good draw. That was a good pickup for Violet. We've been getting a lot of lands, but not a lot of action. So getting that Blood Tithe Harvester will be better. Then we can get another blood. You know, if we need to sack the Blood Tithe Harvester or just cycle away some of these lands we keep drawing into, it's going to give us some more options.
This is definitely showing that we have a trick here. The Abrade is or anything, another pump spell is there, because the Glissa doesn't attack well into the Bank Buster, and the Bank Buster can be crude. So it is telegraphing that we have something. Aha,
that is 4 I was talking about this with Hayu a couple weeks ago. 4 mana, it's not Settle the Wreckage. Who else but Wandering Emperor when you see 4 mana?
Absolutely.
Yep, she's here. She has arrived. And don't worry, if you don't see another Wandering Emperor, the Eternal one might make an appearance as well.
All right, and this is so much card value right now for BLM. Ridiculous card value here. There's going to be another draw off of Wedding Announcement likely next turn if the board is left open. Let's see. We have a harvester, so the board is not left open here. All right. So the draw here, still having 2 farm hands here. As you said, they are 1/1s right now, so that coven is not active right now. And now we see what BLM is going to do in terms of card value first.
BLM does have 6 other lands if they wanted to sacrifice that roadside reliquary and go searching for something that's a little more action. But they do have 4 cards in hand, so they may have something up their sleeves, and we just don't know about it yet. Of note, Violet decided not to block with.
Yeah, here's the wrath.
Oh.
It looked like it was building the playing the 1/1s looked like it was waiting for more things to be added to the board, and just preventing damage from being dealt in the meantime. Emperor also does not really care about Farewell, because Farewell doesn't deal with and Twilight, because Farewell and Twilight don't deal with planeswalkers. So this was wow.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage.
It was foreseeable, but there was nothing that could be done to play around it.
So here, that is a Fable of the Mirror Breaker here. Violet opting to go for Tyvar here instead, -2, milling 3 cards, bringing 1 back, and we're going for the Harvester here. No, the Scrap Gorger, excuse me, the Scrap Gorger, it looks like. And now a Braid's open, and Fable of the Mirror Breaker here be played. Farmhand onto the yard. This is quite a difficult situation right now for Violet to handle. There's just so much going on BLM side.
Yeah, poor Violet.
Yeah, BLM side is definitely a bit overwhelming, because with that Bankbuster tapped out, that little pilot unfortunately can't trade off. Violet is taking a load of damage. You're going to go down to 6 and has 4 poison counters now.
Wow, just this mono white
like
mid-range
casual draw 2 here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's draw 2 because there's an enchantment and all the mites are artifacts. There are 2 enchantments and all the mites are artifacts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another wedding announcement.
How my games went against mono white. Not gonna lie.
What were you playing? Out of curiosity.
I was playing Mardu midrange.
Vicious farmhand here again. Another planes out of the deck, thinning out the deck from the land draws further, and another draw off of wedding announcement here. And that is a Scrap Gorger off the top. However, there's another chance here for drawing a cards here. Invoke Despair, which when the field's that wide, no way you're going to get past that.
Unfortunately, not enough.
So BLM is going to take game number 1 here, but I do believe Jenn does have a few tricks up its sleeve to deal with mono white mid.
Yeah, I think we just saw some of those Brotherhood's End. That will deal with at least a lot of those 1/1s, which for the most part, I think that was a majority of what we saw on BLM side was a lot of 1/1.
I actually think the duresses are the biggest thing that you can do against mono white. So much of what mono white has to do, its creatures are not that great until late game, when it has access to the Paragon and the and potentially some of the others, like some run Elish Norn, some run the 5/5 that makes that's the angel that you can remove counters from to put 1/1s into play. Some run other things, but the major thing is the duress early game takes away their bank busters. It takes away their mass removal, which Jenn really just can't. Jenn doesn't want the mass removal to happen at all. It also takes away some of their early kill spells, just so you can get in with one of your 4/4s or your glissas or so on and so forth. So I actually think duress is one of the biggest plays against that. That deck, I've always been happy to have a duress in my hand when I've sided it and against them. How do you feel about that?
No, I think you explained it very well. I think that duress really just it's disruption. You get to take a look at their hand and see what's going on, what their plan is, what they decided to keep, and disrupt it. You get to take out the worst thing against you and make them throw it away.
Yeah, well, I just feel like you have to take out the wraths if they have them. They can always draw into more, or you have to take out. So there's so much that they can do. You have to decide what's the worst for you at the time. Is it the early draw of the Bank Buster? Is it the early removal they have off the laydown and the ossification? Is it the wraths later on? You just have to do it based on your hand, and duress just gives you so much information at that point that you can also streamline your plays and your strategies to deal with whatever it is that they have.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of which, here there is some trouble here. There's only 3 lands, and how many is BLMMM? 5 lands. That is a big difference in land this early on. So again, we're going to be discarding to drawing a couple of cards here for Violet. We'll see what Fable can conjure here, because this is already a pretty strong start here for VLM. And Soren is going to be happening, though, on behalf of Violet here. Soren perhaps could turn the game around. We've seen Soren turn around. And now we're seeing a -2. There might not be any ultimates.
That's what I'm typically used to seeing Soren come out and doing, is making these vampires. I'm not used to seeing the tick ups.
So already the Bank Buster has been fully used. Can y'all believe that? That was fast.
Oh, don't worry. We're gonna. I think we
Yeah.
might get a chance to. After some of these tokens are gone, we might get a chance to see that Bank Buster reappear and draw some more cards.
And Soren goes down via the Bank Buster, and Eternal Wanderer just doing Eternal Wandering things here. However, Eternal Wanderer is not immune to Sheoldred's Edict here, one of the ways in which to deal with walkers in the format.
Yeah, that last little bit on the Edict is really important, especially against mono white, since you are playing so many walkers in that deck. I also just want to say,
I so wish anything could beat this deck. You really have to get lucky. That's the main one. And I do think the duresses are one of the biggest weapons in your arsenal against it. It's just, oh, look, another wrath.
I find it very interesting that Violet has now drawn all 4 fables.
Yeah, that normally would be fantastic.
Poke through 1 damage.
All right, so White Sun's
Yep.
Twilight
Here
happens.
it is.
That's gonna wipe the reflection of the Mirror Breakers, and that's going to put out 5 mites in their place here. Wedding announcement ticks up, and now there is an anthem here on VLM side of the board. There's a Glissa, there's a Proving Ground, and there is not too much else here, as currently Violet is about to be overwhelmed by a bunch of mites right now.
Yeah, any kind of removal on BLM's side for that Glissa, that's not only 10 damage, that's 5
Half your poison counters allotment.
Yeah. And I mean, you really don't want to see, a Sheoldred's Edict only taking out 1 mite.
Yeah.
That's a bad use of a removal spell.
And here comes the mites downtown here. Glissa blocking 1, but there's going to be 4 others dealing 8 damage and 4 poison counters in 1 go. And there might be more.
Yeah, looks like BLM has some effects, so we'll see what they decide to do.
And that is another Wandering Emperor. Again, 4 open mana. What's going to happen? Who else? Looking like here that there's going to be a trade here between Glissa and the Mite, which isn't going to leave Violet with much here. 14, 4 poison, and another Bank Buster. Just the card value keeps rolling in here, and that is Atlanta Warways, and that is going to do it here. BLM takes it 2-0. Mono white midrange, the other big juggernaut in the format. That and Grixis midrange, expect to see them. They're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. To my everlasting displeasure.
I mean, we did very clearly see why those are the meta decks, though.
Yeah, and especially the white. Like I said, it's the tools that it has at its disposal are unprecedented in my opinion. Actually, I haven't seen a deck that has so few weaknesses. The versatility on it is unparalleled. It makes me ill. it makes me sad and it makes me ill. But yeah, so there's no angle at which I can see to attack this deck. And obviously I'm not a deck builder, so I'm sure I hope somebody is going to build something that takes it out. But I have managed to beat it only because I got lucky, only because my opponent mulled, or I happened to get the duress for the one wrath effect that they had in their hand, and they never found another one, thank goodness, despite drawing tons of cards. But it does everything, and it does it well, and that's really, really hard to see, because almost every deck has its own weaknesses, right? The Grixis deck, if you go wide and they don't find a Brotherhood's End, you're perfectly fine, and they're not usually running that many Brotherhood's Ends, even when they start to be able to sideboard. But this doesn't have that go wide, and you're going to get wrathed. So it's so brutal. So yeah, I am not a fan of that deck, just because it doesn't seem to have any weaknesses, and it seems like it might take over the format quite well. But at least there is the Grixis to play against it, I suppose. But even Grixis, I don't think does particularly well against it. It's possible if you run enough counter magic, maybe. But good times.
Again, thank you so much to our players. That was a wonderful match. Like, White might have been pretty strong, but it's always fun to see, these other decks. The Jenn deck, it was just fun to see the
Absolutely
cards
trying to take it on. Absolutely.
Yeah. So congratulations to BLM, but both players played spectacularly, and we're happy we got to watch that.
Epically, yeah.
Well,
so wonderful to watch.
I do want to thank you for being on, Ariana. First of all, it's been fantastic to meet you. Like, this is such a cool...
to meet you too. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
Of course, of course. And of course, I do want to wish good luck to you. Ariana is also playing in the VML, like I said, just won a match here. And if folks were to find you on the internet, where would you be at?
I'm at Twitch at HeadologyMTG, and Twitter at HeadologyMTG, and HeadologyMTG on YouTube. Those are my main platforms. I also have an Instagram that I occasionally put photos on because reasons. Apparently that's what you do. But yes, so that's where I am. You can also find me on Elder Dragon Hijinks. I like to play with them on occasion. Some lovely Commander, if Commander's your thing. And yeah, it's and hopefully I'll be starting up Spell Table soon to be able to play with. I have Spell Table. I just want to be able to play with people. It'll be fun. Yay!
Yeah.
Also, too, I want to thank, first of all, two wonderful folks for doing a ton of work behind the scenes. Misha here for putting together all of the slides, and of course, Phoebe behind the scenes as well.
Phoebe and Misha!
Thank you so much for Phoebe!
Oh God, what did I do? Wait, oh, thank you.
It's okay, only
Misha,
praise to Phoebe.
Misha, where can we find you on the internet?
All right, I am Magic Mishamigo over on Instagram and Twitter, and just Mishamigo on Twitch.
Absolutely follow on Twitter. I do. It's always entertaining.
And then I try.
Yeah, you should post when you stream so I can catch some. That'd be awesome.
When I eventually get back to it, I'm taking some night classes currently, so that's ruining all of my plans. But yeah, when I get back to it.
And for Magic Critters and Speedruns, you can follow me, twitch.tv/Skybilz. You can find me at Skybilz on Twitter, and for Eclipse channel, Skybilz on YouTube as well. All same spelling, all the same across the board. So again, I would like to thank Wizards, GLHF, Phoebe, our admin team, our casters, our players, and of course, all of you, the viewers. Thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us. We will see you next week for the VML. Thank you, everyone, and take care.
Bye, Bills.